Half an hour outside Iceland's capital, Reykjavik, families mingle and bathe in a shimmering rock pool. It's dubbed the Blue Lagoon, but it's man-made. Essentially, they're swimming in a pond of industrial waste, sulphur-rich runoff from the nearby geothermal power station. It's quickly become Iceland's most popular tourist attraction, a remarkable example of how Icelanders have exploited their most precious resource, energy. Iceland sits on a hotspot of geothermal activity. Combined with the hydroelectricity produced from its glacier-fed rivers, this tiny country generates as much electricity as 20 nuclear power plants.
Here you can see the finished products, the coils ready to be put into containers, T-bars over there and south, the far end.
With such enormous reserves, it wasn't long before one of the world's most power-hungry industries came knocking: aluminium producers.
Our first shipments of alumina came from Australia. We get alumina ships here every 3 or 4 weeks.
At Alcoa's sparkling new smelter in the far east of Iceland, Hilmar Sigurbergsson is proud of the efforts that have transformed this remote fjord into one of the world's largest aluminium trading hubs.
So in all it's about 1.3 million tons per year, which makes this the second or third biggest harbour in Iceland.
With the construction of a massive new dam and hydroelectric power station nearby, and a constant supply of Australian bauxite, Iceland's aluminium industry has become even stronger.
Ships can be up to 6 weeks on their way from Australia, and it takes days to unload them, so it's a long voyage. So we have links with Australia, strong ties.
Making money together?
Yes, we are making jobs together.
Those jobs are desperately needed. Late last year, Iceland became the first victim of the global economic crisis, sparking riots in the streets. The country's banking sector had imploded under a mountain of debt. And within just a few months, almost 10% of Icelanders were out of work. But the island's energy reserves remain unscathed. For many, exploiting those reserves is a tempting economic lifeline, but others fear the unleashing of a dangerous juggernaut. The fear is that industrial development may cause irreversible damage, and although some of the biggest aluminium producers in the world are prepared to inject billions into the local economy here, some Icelanders are prepared to risk everything they have to stop what they see as the reckless destruction of a unique environment.
I know this area well, and it's very beautiful, and it has a possibility of being the most famous volcanic national park in the world. And we are going to destroy it for 40 jobs in an aluminium smelter. You know, I don't sometimes not know whether I should cry or laugh.
Not far from Reykjavik, Omar Ragnarsson is showing me the quiet valley where he spent his summers as a young boy, a place he now fears will be destroyed by yet another planned aluminium smelter.
It's disastrous. It's out of control. It's completely out of control.
Omar says he's not completely opposed to industry, but smelters are hungry for energy, and the only way to feed them is by building still more dams and power stations, drowning much of the wilderness along the way.
It's 20 places all planned. It's such a long, long list, and they want it all. That's the problem. They want it all.
This is the Karanuka Hydro Scheme, the biggest dam and power development ever undertaken in Iceland. It involves the damming of two mighty glacial rivers across an area of nearly 1,000 square kilometres of pristine wilderness. Now, vast dry canyons have been formed, whilst in the interior, entire valleys have been flooded by the dams.
The Karanuka project is the greatest environmental, irreversible impact you can have on the nature and image of the country, just for within 0.5% of the jobs in this country.
When the Karanuka hydro plan was first mooted, environmentalists were outraged. Facing off against big business, they drew inspiration from what happened in Tasmania in the 1980s.
When we were fighting against the Karanuka project, we tried to open the eyes of people and told them the story of the Franklin River. And we said, we can stop this. It is possible. Activists did it back in Australia, and we can do it here. But we didn't.
When I first met Kolbrun Halldórsdóttir last year, the left-green politician was one of just a handful in public office taking a stand against the smelters. A position driven by her belief that the aluminium industry was simply using Iceland's clean green image to erase its grubby track record.
The fact is that the country as a whole benefits extremely little by the selling of or producing of raw aluminium here in Iceland. Very little of this, of the value of this product stays in the country. And these companies, they are not Icelandic. I mean, they are foreign, and they come to Iceland in order to green themselves. I mean, who wouldn't want aluminium industry? They have a record, and they're trying to make that record better, and I understand that.
Kolbrun's concerns had been largely ignored. That is, until the economic meltdown handed her a remarkable opportunity. Earlier this year, Iceland's besieged government finally collapsed, and she was catapulted into the Environment Minister's seat in a caretaker administration. Now the aluminium industry is firmly in her sights.
Those who are energy consuming and polluting and CO2 emitting, they are not as welcome as the ones that can work in harmony with our nature.
Kolbrun has called for a temporary halt to all planned aluminium smelter proposals. But with the economy shrinking and elections set for next month, the caretaker government to which she belongs has little time to convince Icelanders of the benefits of their progressive policies.
I mean, we have an extremely difficult situation concerning the economy. Now, for the time being, the left-green movement has the Minister of Finance. And he is proving himself, and our politics are proving themselves as being radical, but something that Icelandic society needs right now.
It's estimated that worldwide, the aluminium industry uses as much electricity as the entire continent of Africa. And even though it's been labelled as one of the world's most environmentally damaging industries, in Iceland, aluminium companies believe they have struck the right balance.
When you hear that debate sometimes, it seems like we are drowning all the country, but actually it's a very, very small bite of the country that we are drowning.
At its new smelter, Alcoa's spokesperson, Erna Indridadóttir, is quick to dismiss any charges of corporate recklessness brought against it.
We have had inquiries, people talking about that we were drowning animals, or I don't know. In China, for example, when they are building the big dams, they are flooding big cities. People have to move away from cities. Here in Iceland, we were flooding an area that was that nobody really cared that much about.
But while Alcoa is keen to dismiss its critics, the completion of the dam has brought some unexpected problems. Lagerflot is the largest body of water in East Iceland, a picturesque location that even boasts its own mythical underwater creature, similar to the Loch Ness Monster. It's more than 100 kilometres downstream from the Karanúka Dam, but even at that distance, dramatic changes are starting to appear.
Þeir moka í ána fleiri 100.000 miljón rúmmetrum af jökulleir og smiðjumó sem þeir hafa ekkert leyfi til. We had just begun to make a small museum from things for the children.
Orn Thorleifsson is a biology teacher who has lived around here for much of his life. He says that the sediment dredged up by the dam's construction has even affected the surrounding ocean.
Og síðan hvarf öll rækjan úr héraðsflóanum. Þarna höfðu 2 bátar verið að veiðum undan síðan 1970 sennilega 8 og veitt þarna 40 tonna rækju á viku.
As part of Orn's teaching duties, he's regularly monitoring changes in the local ecosystem. And in the absence of any ongoing scientific study, his investigations provide one of the only insights into Karanúka's environmental costs.
Og það ekki talað það, þau mega gera svona hluti og segjast aldrei spilla náttúrunni. Svo það sé gert kannski ekki vísindi, bara af heimsku. Menn eru ekkert að hugsa neitt nema rafmagnið, annars skiptir ekki máli hjá þessum fyrirtækjum.
As I know the company, it's a very socially responsible company trying to do the best they can to be a good corporate citizen and protect the environment as they can.
The industrial area will go from here and all the way up here. They already have a power plant here, but that's just a small fraction of the area.
Today, Omar Ragnarsson is taking me up in his light plane to see the area around Lake Myvatn in Iceland's far northwest. It's a pristine area on Iceland's northern coast, which until recently was protected from development.
These are the craters that were formed when the lava came into the lake. It's here.
But with pressure to feed new aluminium smelters proposed for the north of Iceland, plans have been developed throughout this region, including Lake Myvatn, to harness geothermal power, a form of energy considered as clean and green.
Myvatn is the heart of the region, so taking some part of it for industrialization is like taking, the legs from a statue. We are told that we have to sacrifice it because we have to save the atmosphere, and it's a clean energy.
Energy companies would like to build a series of geothermal power stations throughout the region, like this one, the first to be built here. And test drilling has already begun in other sites in the area. It's claimed that unlike hydroelectric plants and dams, geothermal energy has few negative aspects. But scientists studying the ecosystem here are already alarmed about disturbing changes that are occurring.
So they are changing the groundwater chemistry, the heat of the groundwater. And this is a very important part of the Lake Myvatn ecosystem.
Biologist Arni Einarsson has been studying this ecosystem for years. He's deeply worried that rigorous environmental monitoring has been put aside in the haste to generate new jobs.
What we have found is that the ecosystem is very sensitive to small disturbances. This energy development is going very, very fast, and it's going much faster than we would like, because we cannot follow all the consequences.
As Environment Minister, Kolbrun Halldórsdóttir is also very concerned about the potential impact of harnessing energy from the region's geothermal springs.
They are so delicate, and the tank is just one tank. You can drill many holes, but you're taking from the same tank, and you must be extremely careful on that, how you do it. So in my mind, we must do it gradually and little by little.
In fact, environmentalists are concerned that a disturbance to Lake Myvatn's ecosystem may have global ramifications. This area provides a nesting ground for some extraordinary migratory bird life, a collection that exists nowhere else in the world.
This area is quite unique because you have a mix of species of American origin and European origin. So you have, it's what we would call biogeographical crossroads here. It's kind of unique.
After losing their fight against the massive hydroelectric project in the east, activists like Omar believe that history should never be repeated. But the aluminium companies are spending big money in their campaign to win the support of Icelanders, including a multi-million-dollar donation from Alcoa towards the establishment of a new national park just a few hours' drive away.
They are spending money they are spending into this is so little that it's not worth mentioning if you compare it to all the profit they're making now in Reyðarfjörður and will be making here.
For her part, Iceland's new, albeit temporary, environment minister is also trying to stop the advance on Lake Myvatn.
I would put my power, my energy into preserving where the power companies have been wanting to drill. I would try to preserve that. I mean, all these things are so precious that we must put all our emphasis on preserving them.
In spite of whatever economic lifeline these projects might provide, Icelanders like Orns Thorleifsson bemoan what is already an established pattern.
Við erum svona litlir gullgrafarar Íslendingar og viljum fá allt og það bara núna, ekkert að bíða. Við höfum gengið á þorskstofninn okkar, við gengum á síldarstofninn okkar. Við erum núna að ganga á náttúruna. Af hverju erum við að ganga á hana? Vegna þess.
Next month, Icelanders will choose the government they believe is best equipped to lead them out of financial chaos. At the same time, with parties like Kolbrun's Green Left thumbing their nose at the world's aluminium companies, they'll also be voting for what sort of Iceland they want to retain for the future.
Hopefully we will learn from the mistakes done in the past. Those mistakes are enormous. I mean, we have destroyed a part of our wilderness. So yes, I think and I hope that we will learn. And it has been a difficult lesson.